Hello everyone, it's Sebastian, aka X for PokerVIP.com, and today I'm back with my second part of my two-part video series for Guts Poker. And you guys know the drill. Get into a lot of spots, get ourselves into a lot of dicey situations to showcase you how to beat, or rather how to crush the micro stakes. So without further ado, let's jump right into the action. Already sat down for a few orbits here, spotted a whale already, so that's always good. By the way, today I'm not only playing anonymous tables, to be quite honest, there are just not a lot of anonymous tables running right now, so I mixed in a few regular tables, which also might be interesting for some of you guys playing on microgaming. I do think the anonymous tables are generally high IV, spotted the limper and non-fold stacker, instantly tagging him as a recreational. Generally making a bit of a difference between a recreational and a fish. Like a fish is like a known bad player, a recreational is just a guy that's looking like he's gonna play bad. Him limping UTG probably means he's not gonna play good, but it also doesn't have to mean that he's gonna get totally out of line. While a fish is like already someone that we know is either gonna be way too stationary or in some kind of fashion too out of line. 10-7 suited, pretty reasonable hand to overcall here. Also one recreational involved. We flop a middle pair, that's a reasonable starting point. If a lot of money goes in, we're not happy. We turn an open-ender, could lead, but generally just gonna check my hand. Just plays better as a check call. Jack 3 obviously we fold, regardless of basically anything. Jack 3, by the way, also called the camel ball licker. Yes, that's actually what the hand is called. Don't know why, but that's what it's called. Pretty awful hand. They can still have plenty of straights here, and also I don't see a lot of things we can extract a ton of value from, so I'm gonna check and then potentially bluff catch. He pots it, he snap pots it into two people. Generally, those snap pot bets by fishes, generally fishes are one thing, and that thing is they are honest. They are playing pretty face up, they are playing the hand. Generally, not always, but mostly. So I'm gonna go ahead and believe him and drop my 2 pair here. Yes, it's a tight fold, but I obviously only beat bluffs. So basically I would need him to bluff 33% of the time. We also have a player behind which might sometimes wake up with a better hand occasionally. Who knows? And yeah. Gonna complete or overlimp the 7-5 here. Trying to spike a miracle. Yeah, and as I said, generally recreationals are pretty face up. They're gonna be pretty honest with their with what they do. Like if he snap pots there, generally means he has a jack, and he can have plenty of jack access still. I'll try to top up here. I think yeah, topping up now. Not sure why it's not going to full 20. That's kind of bizarre. That's kind of weird. But should work next round. Okay. Oh wait, we did see another limp. Oh, we already have attacked as recreational, so that's good. Okay, now it goes to 20. Sure. Not sure why the auto top is bugging around a bit there, but not a big deal. That's one of the first things you can take away. Generally, snap pots as bets by fish means strength. They are generally not trying to level and represent strength with that type of action. They generally just have the reasonably strong hand. Pocket 5 is going to go ahead and isolate versus the weaker player, trying to get it heads up. We could overlimp. It's not totally outrageous to overlimp in such a situation. I think I talked about that briefly in the other part. That's a pretty good flop. Gonna make a relatively loose open here in the cutoff. And it's not too loose. Gonna see with 1/3 here. Versus the fish, trying to extract as many check raise spazzes as possible, trying to widen his range as wide as possible, as much as possible rather. Didn't work this time, that's okay. Oh, that's a pretty awful flop. I'm honestly gonna check my top pair here and going to check call mode for now. There will be a lot of texture shift where my top pair is gonna be worth basically 0. There are really not a lot of runouts where my top pair is gonna be worth putting a ton of money in. Honestly, if it goes bet big into call, I'm honestly already gonna drop my top pair here. Like, for example, this turn. And that's the thing. You have to realize how many runouts are you going to be happy with your top there, right? There are really not a lot of those runouts. You're like basically hoping that it checks down and then both of them show up around like 8-9, which 8-9 also has a ton of equity, which is possible. We might sometimes fold the best hand here on the flop. Like, for example, now we did fold the best hand. Pretty clear example, right? But look at it. They had like 9-7 has a ton of outs. And they are like hands that completely annihilate us and crush us. So, let's see what the other guy had. Okay, the other guy was randomly stepping with ace queen, which is pretty bad. Yeah. It's a pretty tight fold, and I wouldn't fold with just a c-bet, but the c-bet call makes it so like, if you plug that into PokerStove or whatever thing you use for equities versus ranges, the king 8 there versus 2 ranges versus c-bet big into call range is really not doing too hot. It's gonna barely have the equity needed to call, if at all, probably not even, to be quite honest. And then you're gonna have a really hard time like realizing your equity. You're gonna get bluffed really easily off your hand on a lot of like turns and runs, right? If he has ace queen with one club and we are heads up, he always barrels on the club turn, we can't really continue on that turn, right? Like even in this situation where we had the best hand on the flop, it's still not, we are still not crushing the head with king 8 was like 9-7 and ace queen there, right? If you think about it, they still have a ton of outs to improve there. I'm gonna isolate the ace 8 versus the whale and the fish pretty happily for value. Yeah, if you think about it, just like even in that situation, we're not gonna have a ton of equity, I can tell you that. Let's see what 130 here for honestly mainly value purposes. Oh, that left table was lagging for a second. Oh, it's okay. I can plug it in on the side. Taking down the king is good. I mean, it was the 9 of clubs. No, it was the 8 of clubs, 7 of spades, and then the 6 of clubs. Can I defend the king jack, and if the queen 10 we have a dicey decision. Given there's a whale and a fish in, I'm kind of tempted to really flat here white, getting like an insanely good price. This hand doesn't play enormously well, but given there's a whale and a fish behind and we get really good odds, I'm just gonna call here, getting 5-1. I think this is like extremely marginal, but I think given this really specific situation, it's reasonable to call it, even though the hand doesn't play particularly well multi-way. Even though the hand doesn't particularly play multi-way, with the king jack, we're gonna overbet river. I think he has a bunch of ace highs, and I don't think he generally is gonna call this versus overbet with ace high. So yeah, on the flop with the king 8, just to showcase that for a second, we literally don't have the best hand there, right? Equity-wise, we don't have the best hand. Yes, like in the moment we have the best hand, but equity-wise, we are behind. The 9-7 was ahead. 9-7 in the multi-way situation had 50% equity, while we only obtained 37% equity. So we have 13% equity less than the best hand there. The ace queen obviously only having 15%, making his play kind of outrageous. But yeah, it was kind of showcases like, even though we have the best hand in the moment, equity-wise, yes, in this situation we have enough equity to continue versus those two hands, right? Doesn't mean it's versus ranges, but versus those two hands. But it still means we are behind, right? That's generally going to be the thing. We're going to be definitely behind of their ranges there. So, a lot going on there in the king 8 hand. I guess it's kind of rambling about a somewhat trivial spot, I would say. But a spot I think a lot of players would misplay. The pocket tens, if I had a read, I would definitely call the 4-bet. As for now, I don't have a read, and generally in these positions, like a UTG Open is already pretty tight, and then 4-bet, I'm just gonna fold this. I mean, I would basically set one, and I don't really get odds to set one here. I think his 4-betting range is too strong there. If I had some history, some read, knowing he's like 4-betting relatively wideish there, I would call. But as population goes, they really don't 4-bet a ton there. It's like really narrow range from, like, honestly, a lot of guys flat ace, king, and queens there's a standard, which isn't bad. It's probably better than 4-betting versus most players in the population. So honestly, it's like a mix out of like obviously aces and kings, and then like sometimes queens and ace king, and like very occasionally a bluff. Which, by the way, if they bluff, they usually bluff with like ace jack, ace queen, which versus our hand has a basically has 50% equity. Coin flip, that's the word I was looking for. Has a coin flip. So yeah, I'm basically calling and trying to flop my set in a spot where the SPR is already going to be really small, so all implied odds are not insane. Yes, we're going to usually stack him a lot if we hit the set, but we're also often just going to fold the flop. Gonna isolate the 8-9. I don't think he's going to fold a lot, just folds. But I generally just want to get this heads up versus like the recreational there. Easy isolate with this hand, pretty happy about it. Generally isolating pretty big versus fishes. Trying to extract the maximum value. Deuce 3, just gonna check down, trying to see 3 turns in reverse. Not a shame in not going ham here. Good flop for me, the isolator. He will probably be pretty wide here. I'm gonna just see bet around half pot here. Hope he folds in like pocket 3s. Else I also have a nut gut shot and an overcard, which I want to realize. Good result, of course. Pocket 10s again. Good old friend, pocket 10s. See what happens now with pocket 10s. Kind of open. It's kind of sad that you don't have hard stats on microgaming. For example, if he 4-bets me, I really would like to have some hard stats. Because it's like a really close spot if he 4-bets me. It's like shoving is reasonable, flatting is reasonable. Generally, you won't get 4-bet a lot here. His main defense will come from calling or folding by a large margin. 4-bet's going to be the most rare defense here from him. So we don't have to worry too much about it, but we do want to think about all the things that could happen. Easy fold with the king 8. And if he would have folded us, it depends on the player. What's going to be the best action? As a standard blueprint strategy, I would just advise you to fold there. Don't get yourself into 4-bet pots with small SPRs being out of position with kind of not that strong hands. Easy open with the queen 9 suited, of course. Generally, flatting 4-bets is kind of a dicey topic, and it's kind of hard. But it certainly can be done. But generally, you want to look to flat 4-bets being in position and not out of position. You're going to fold the queen 9 here and defend queen 10 suited plus. Queen 9 not barely making the cut there. Easy defend with the queen 10, giving the 2.5x open. Pretty good flop. Sadly, the whale just left the table. But that's life. Pretty easy call. Gonna at least call 2 streets, potentially 3, depending on the run out. That's, for example, a pretty bad turn. Its turn is also gonna barrel a lot. We do block 10, which is not fantastic. But population-wise, people do see with a lot of ace highs on the flop, meaning this turn really hurts us. I'm gonna give it one more call because he has a small blind range, and he has a lot of incentive to barrel this turn basically with a lot of hands, and we have some equity versus hand like ace 5. So I'm gonna give it one more call, and then I'm gonna drop it on the river. Not surprised if he just bets relatively big here, like around, yeah, he checks. Let's hope he had like the king jack ball. Exactly, king jack. That's why we can't really fold turn because of the king jack, 10 9, jack 8, jack 9, jack 10. Those were the hands I was hoping him to have. Pocket fours is close between flatting and 3-betting. Given it's a min open, I'm just gonna flat and set mine. And right here we're gonna 3-bet our hand to roughly around 350. Because I do expect this, first of all, I didn't expect snap cold call versus the huge squeeze from me, but sure, that can also happen with a pretty good hand, so it's not that sad. And I expect the button to, to isolate the cutoff pretty wide here, because the cutoff is a fish. And I would expect the button to have a lot of junky hands. As it seems, we ran into the nuts. I'm not gonna peel this. The SPR is way too small. We can't effectively set mine, and I can't shove it in versus this range. This range is way too strong here. That was way too nutted. And Jax is not gonna make the cut. And let's see what happens. He could have had ace-king. That's obviously the only hand I really beat him. He bets really small. And he's probably gonna stack the fish, which is a shame. He has kings, he has ace-king. Not really in good shape with pocket jacks versus pocket kings, huh? So, see, the discipline fold works out. Realizing how strong his range is there, right? Because all of the marginal hands and all of the hands that could bluff, like ace-5 suited, are generally just gonna flat because they're closing the action, they're in position to both players, and they get reasonable odds. So those hands would generally just flat, leaving him with like basically mainly only value there. So his range there were gonna be like kings, aces, ace-king, sometimes queens. I still really like the squeeze by me pre though. As we see the other guy is limp calling his king. That's kind of like an interesting thing to note. So he's not only limp calling weekend, he's probably just limp calling his range. And maybe then raising aces or whatever his strategy is, which I'm not going to try to figure out at all. But yeah, I like the flavor of the pocket kings, obviously. He played his hand really well. He also played the king jack well, in my opinion, so I'm going to give him the reg tag. Pretty sure the guy seems reasonable so far. Can't be too far off to give him the reg tag there. Okay, we're gonna fold to king 3. Obviously not a really good hand. Good old Doyle Brunson in the small blinds. Gonna let it go. Even though it hurts. Sometimes you just have to let it go. Lots of chunky hands, which we can just throw into the bin. No shame in folding those hands. And yeah, like, I think the point I was grasping on before was really important. Always try to think about how many texture shifts will be there on the turn and on the river. Like, are there really a lot of good runouts for your hand? Is it going to be easy to play your hand from out of position on a lot of runouts? Those things are really important, and people generally overlook those specific information about the spots or the hands, if you will. So, yeah. And especially with like c-bet into call ranges, a lot of the hands you would continue versus like a just c-bet are gonna get ditched out then. Because a lot of those hands have like way less equity in the multi-way situation than in the heads-up situation. Especially on those dynamic type of textures. It's a bit of a more, I'll make a relatively loose open here, a bit of a more advanced concept there. It's kind of a PLO concept, to be very honest. People don't tend to think about that as much in Hold'em, but it's still relevant. Oh, ace-king. Let's get some dice here. That's gonna be a squeeze. The fish is gonna come along on the button. That's as expected. Okay, we're gonna go to about 243. Going to about 333 here. Hopefully we don't face another 4-bet, because this 4-bet by the UTG player would be insanely strong again. Like, probably the strongest 4-bet range you can imagine. He folds, that's good. And now we are really feeling really happy about our hand. Now we just have to flop something. That's sadly not something. We're gonna start by c-betting roughly around 1/3 with our hand. He will fold a lot of hands like Queen 10, 10, 9, King Queen are just gonna fold. We can get some value out of hand like Ace Queen, and we can realize our equity given the price we are setting versus hand like Pocket 9s. We don't improve on the turn, it's a really bad turn for our range. We would even check some aces here. So it makes sense to just check our ace king. Just makes sense. Hope for a check and hope to spike a pair on river. Nope. He's probably gonna show up with a hand like pocket nines, which I'm expecting not to fold out now. He could occasionally have ace king as well, or ace queen, so we could win here occasionally. And he's not gonna fold a hand like pocket tens in my opinion, so we're just gonna check and give up. And if he has pocket tens, we lost a relatively cheap flip. That's okay. He just jams. Not gonna hero call the ace king no spade here at all. Not interested in that at all. Defending the queen jack versus 2.5x button open, of course. Flopping atrociously bad. So this guy now limps, so we're gonna take him as a recreational. His line in the last hand also was a bit suspicious, but not a lot we can do with the ace king, especially given the run out. Our hands are kind of tight there. Always had to squeeze big with ace king and then not get any pairs. Interesting pot brewing here. Oh, ace queen. That hand might win some money. Might also not. Might lose a lot of money. Gonna go ahead and 3-bet. So 4x out of position. If he 4-bets, we have an easy fold. If he calls, we're gonna take a flop. And if he folds, we are pretty happy. On this flop, we're gonna c-bet. We're gonna c-bet around half pot. Blocking queen jack is kind of relevant here. We are gonna c-bet. A lot of worse hands that can call us. Jack 10, king jack, king queen, ace jack, any ace x, any king x. A lot of worse hands that can call us. If we get raised, we have an easy decision, which would be fold. And we'll just continue there with like ace 10 plus versus a raise. Probably ace king plus, to be honest. And even ace king, if you get raised there, even ace king is not in a good situation. Obviously any set is still kind of whatever if it gets raised. Like if you have pocket tens and you get raised, you're still okay about it. Pocket fours might see a flop, might not. Depends on the action. So I'm assuming this guy's gonna limp. Nope, fold. Okay, gonna open. Flush with a straight. Water cooler. Brutal. Taking it down, I can live with that. That's a result I can live with. See the UTG limp. See the overlimp by the rack. You know what? Let's join the party. I think overlimping ranges are an underrated part of the game. I think people didn't put any work into those, or at least not a lot of work into those. I think we have a pretty fitting spot here. We have fish, we're in position to both players. We are usually going to be in position post-flop. And we have the hand that can flop relatively cool hands with pretty decent playability. Folding is obviously another play I totally wouldn't like isolating in this situation with the 4-5. So this guy apparently this time limped a good hand again. Let's see if the button was full of shit. Yep. I think it's close between overlimping or folding their preflop. I don't mind that option. Totally can see folding being okay. But I'm currently toying around with overlimping ranges because you still quite frequently see limps at even 50 NL. Even at 100 NL, you still see a decent bit of limps. So I'm toying around with overlimp ranges and how good those are. Currently trying to figure out how well those perform. So far it's looking good. And that would have been a spot where it's okay. For example, if I had like pocket threes there, I would never isolate, I would always overlimp. It would be for me like in the 4-5 suited hand, pocket threes would be a clear-cut overlimp there. And it's just, in my opinion, or with my data and research, it's just a decent bit better than isolating or folding. Pocket 8's gonna be a 3-bet, blind to blind. Especially versus fish, he's probably gonna limp. So, I'll probably just isolate. Or he's gonna timeout fold. Okay, he decides to timeout fold. That's a respectable decision. The ladies, trying to get some action with the ladies, please. Nope, just a walk. That's kind of disappointing, if I'm honest. Percent wouldn't mind a walk though. Probably gonna face a 3-bet now though. No, gonna get the walk. Yep, that's. And then doesn't mind a walk as such. A7, the fish is back, that's good. Easy fold to A7, easy fold to 10-3. Not a ton happening right now. Waiting for some playable hands. Oh, there's a shove. That looks like a good hand. And faces to fold. Jack 8 gonna be an open from the button. Generally. 3-7 obviously not gonna defend. Queen 4 obviously not gonna defend. Those hands have no playability and extreme poor equity realization and so on. Same with descent. It has pretty poor equity versus range. It has poor equity realization. Implied odds are pretty dog. So we're just gonna fold Jack 8 off. Queen 8 off would be an open if it folds to me, else it's gonna be a fold. If the button would have decided to limp, I would have once again completed descent instead of isolating. And would start isolating hands like Queen 10 off plus in that situation. So a bit stronger hands, a bit more connected, a bit more playability, a bit more high cut strength. King 3 gonna be an open if folded to, gonna probably be a fold if he limps, because we have seen him also limp raising and limping relatively strong hands, so I'm not gonna try to isolate him that white. Another walk. Walk in the park. A walk in the park. Okay, I'm not gonna disturb you with my singing. Excuse me. Classic min open from the small blind versus big blind. Classic. Give me some hands. Queen 4, that's not gonna cut it. Jack and 8, that's also not gonna cut it. Okay, that's might be an interesting spot to spectate. Okay, see it. That could be interesting. Oh, we get the raise in. Gonna assume there's gonna be snap calls. Will this be the set versus overpair situation, the classic cooler, the classic? That's again, that seems like 2 pair are set. And now the flush gets in. Will he lead shove the river and always have a flush? Or 9, I guess, for that matter. Yeah, that's the thing. And he shouldn't call their pocket 7s at all. That's not a good call off. He's gonna have a flush or 9 there, extremely off. The guy had the overpair and he had a set, by the way, so it was the classic set versus overpair setup. And he gonna run out the straight like a champion. The other guy should have sized up turn and should have shoved turn, by the way. With the pocket 7s. He got too greedy there, betting half pot. He should shove it, even though it's a bit more than pot. I'd say that's a mistake. And his river call is gonna be a mistake as well. Those lead shoves in that situation, really imbalanced, extremely nutted. Gonna go for a few more orbits. And then gonna call it a session. As always, if you have any comments, any questions, want to talk about any of the hands played, go ahead, ask them in the comment sections or write me a PM. Happy to answer them. Hope we got into some interesting spots. Hope you learned some things. Hope you got something out of it. Just checking Jack 7, have some showdown value, do want to realize my equity. And yeah. I mean, let's play out the Jack 7, I guess. Can we win? Damn. Once again, completing the Jack 9 here. Flop a non-nutted gut shot. That's not too juicy. Probably not gonna turn a pair, that's quite okay. Maybe zero river. Probably gonna zero river here. Jack 9. That's pot. I'm not gonna call pot. I would have called versus half pot. Oh yeah, something like that. 35 I would have peeled, but not the pot. Gonna play it to Jack 10, and after the Jack 10 is finished, gonna call it a sesh. Interesting flop. We're gonna start by range c-betting those boards. Would prefer to have a spade. We don't. That's okay. Still gonna take it down a reasonable chunk of the time here. That's a really good result. So, as always, hope you enjoyed the ride. Actually, let's play ace queen. We have a bit of time. Let's play ace queen. Let's go for the 3 ball. Whoops, that's not open shove that. That might not be the GTO move there. Maybe it would be. Let's hope to not face a forward. That would be quite tilting. Face the flat and flop second pair on a board where straights are possible, sets are possible, 2 pairs are possible, and a lot of top pairs are possible. And where also a lot of runouts will not favor our hands. For example, runners including a Jack or 10. We're gonna start by checking this board back. Gonna try to turn an ace, a queen, or him checking. Him checking turn would be quite good. If he snap checks now, I might value bet my hand. If he leads big, I'm gonna fold my hand. And if he leads smallish, I'm gonna have a decision. And you see, I'm already like thinking about all the different situations, all the different things. Also block the ace of spades, which obviously is not a good thing here at all. He tank checks. I'm gonna opt to 1/3 this turn, and then I'm gonna check back rivers. Going for some value versus jacks, 10s, 10-9. Queen Jack, Queen 10. Ace Jack, Ace 10 supposedly could also peel. That's like a protection / value type of bet. If you raise with an easy fold, calls, we are gonna check back the vast majority of the rivers. If he folds, I'm gonna take it. Okay, let's call it a session right here. And yeah. Have a nice day, have a nice grind, and peace.